Hey, good morning, everybody. I do apologize if I got a little of a cough. Don't worry, I don't have it, if you know what I mean. I don't have that. Um, just a little morning thing. But welcome to a special live Topics on My Mind for today, the 9th of April, 2020. It is a special edition. It is a special animation and comics edition. Yes, a special comic books and animation edition. And we got 6 things we're going to talk about real quickly. The 6 topics are that we will discuss are: 1, an artist on Sonic Comics reveals truth behind Sally's post 252 redesign. We'll get into that. Number 2, we're going to talk about more post Disney Afternoon revelations to be made in season 3 of the new DuckTales series. Number 3, we'll talk about how long should the Zombot arc have gone in IDW's Sonic comic. Talk about how long it should have gone. Number 4, we're talking about how silly Pony Life, which is the spin-off or the tie-in show to My Little Pony Friendship with Magic, how silly Pony Life could get. Number 5, we'll talk about the new Animaniacs series coming this fall and what could come of it. And 6, we'll talk about what other Disney Afternoon shows could get a continued soft reboot because of their appearance/reference in the new DuckTales series. So, yeah, that's something to look forward to, guys. I should say to look forward to. So, without further ado, I should say. So I'm trying to think here. Get this linked up. So without further ado, let's talk about the first topic, which is artist on Archie Sonic Comics reveals truth behind Sally's post 252 redesign. Now, in case you guys don't know, I actually tweeted out a question. I talked about this yesterday in my video to Ben Bates about whether or not he, Tracy Yardlin, or whoever knew how far the Mecha Sally arc was going to go. Now, Ben basically said that he genuinely, this is the truth, if I can find it again. Let's see, it's here somewhere. Yeah, Ben Bates basically said that he had no idea. The way it was sold to him, Mecha Sally and her later form Neo Sally, which he put in quotations, would be revealed as advanced Eggman robotics and a sleeper agent. The real, and he put real in caps, Sally Acorn was in cryostasis, and the next 5-year arc would be Sonic traveling the world to find her. Now, the reason I bring this up as the first topic is because Rich Monk, aka at a Thirsty Bottle, at Twitter, that's their name, asked him a question as well. He asked him a question as well. Rich Monk said that they were a huge fan of the comic, and this is an arc they've always been curious about. He brings up that Ben mentions Neo Sally. He wonders if that's the weaponized Sally. If so, are you saying? And he's wondering if Ben's saying that's not actually her. He's wondering, was Sally warped to a different world then? He was a bit confused. He wanted a little bit of clarification. So, here's what's interesting about that. Ben then responded by saying he means he really doesn't know. Ben basically says he was given a basic idea of the direction. Neo Sally was her form after being de-roboticized, a robot that didn't look like it was a robot. So in other words, I don't know if you could see it very well, but that Sally right there, the one that we got in post 252, was supposed to be a sleeper agent. In other words, a animatronic or automatronic, I think that's what they were called. An automatronic or whatever. So anyway, like I said, it was an automatronic. And basically, long story short, what I'm saying, what I'm trying to get here. Okay. So basically, what he's saying, the way it was sold to him originally, was that the Sally we got in, basically the Sally we were getting, post, well, not initially post, soft reboot, retcon, whatever, 252, but the one that was going to get de-roboticized originally was going to be a sleeper agent. In other words, an automatronic. We had seen these before. We had seen these animatronics before. In earlier issues like the Sally miniseries and a few others. So it's not the first time we've heard of something like this. I will put it that way. It's not the first time we've heard of something like this. It's because, what I'm trying to say is, and I'm kind of focusing on linking this live stream also, so I do apologize. That's why it feels like I'm a little off focus. There we go. But like I said, basically, what was I trying to say? Oh yeah, basically we've seen this before. Like I said, with the post Sally, with not the post Sally, but the Princess Sally miniseries, and even before that and after that. So, for Ben to acknowledge that the Sally we got, the de-roboticized Sally with the new redesign and the blades and all that, would have been revealed to be a sleeper agent, a Neo, an automatronic that looked real, went through the emotions and stuff like that, but in reality was a fake. It's really interesting to find that out, because it's, that's pretty much, like I said in my video yesterday, my follow-up video, that's kind of what I think I think that's what Ben was alluding to, was Neo Sally was going to be the Sally that, everybody thought was rescued, saved, de-roboticized. And all of a sudden it turns out that's not the case. And apparently the next 5-year arc, from what Ben told me and others, was Sonic traveling the world to find her because she was in cryostasis. But I'm sure the one thing people wonder about, and maybe we should ask Ben this or anybody else this, is how did Sally end up in cryostasis? My theory on that is she ended up in cryostasis because of Nicole. Like, Nicole knew that if Sally went through what she was about to do, she wouldn't survive it. So she had to maybe teleport her to another world, and in her place put some kind of robotic that maybe looked like a roboticized Sally, and go from there. Again, just speculation, because, Nicole was always basically looked at as being very powerful for an AI. I mean, look, she created New Mobotropolis out of nanites. So who's to say she wouldn't have been capable of that? But yeah, Ben Bates reveals basically what I could only assume is the truth, or at least part of the truth, as to Sally's post 252, Sega Genesis Wave redesign. Because basically, apparently the redesign was going to happen, but it was only because she would be revealed to be a sleeper agent. So it's really intriguing to hear that. But if you go to so yeah it's like I said, it's really intriguing to hear that and find out more about that. Um, from Ben Bates, and it's like I said yesterday, the other day I should say, and even yesterday. That's the one benefit about getting to talk to people. The fact that that used to work on behind the scenes on various projects, that if they're allowed to, they no longer have to worry about doing worry about the NDA, which is the non-disclosure agreement, and they can actually reveal some truths. Now, Ben's not saying basically this is what was going to happen. He's just saying that this is how it was pitched to him. Like it's like I said, when somebody pitches an idea for a movie, shows the rough drafts of the script, maybe some rough drafts of drawings and scenes they want to go with on, it doesn't always mean you're going to get that. It means it's just, what they're pitching to the client or to the people they're going to work with, but then it goes in another direction. So that's basically what Ben was saying. But yeah, it kind of feels like it's partially, basically what we're getting is a partial truth here. Like, I believe it because he did the artwork. So I have no doubt that Ben is telling the truth on that. But it's really intriguing to find out that, as I said yesterday, what was initially ended, in a sense, with 247 and was really concluded epilogue-wise with her appearance at the end of 252, it's hard to imagine that that was going to go for another 5 years, which is really amazing. Just really amazing. But anyway, though, yeah, that's pretty much what was being planned at the time. It's just linking something up here on Facebook right now, linking up the live stream. But yeah, I kind of feel that is partially true. Like I said, what was originally meant to just be, a one-off deal, if you will, was going to go on kind of one-off and everything, was going to go on originally for maybe a couple more years. So, I mean, because like I said, from what I'm understanding, we would have ended the story arc between late 2017 and last year. That's kind of the gist I'm getting. Had things gone that direction the way they were pitched to Ben Hurst. I mean, not Ben Hurst, but to Ben Bates. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's initially how, like I said, I saw it, honestly. That's how initially I see it, or I view it, that basically this, like I said yesterday in my video, this thing would have kept going on up until late 2017 throughout midpoint of last year. That's kind of what I'm getting. It's kind of the vibes I'm getting, if you will. Now, I know some people probably won't believe that, but again, I got to reiterate. This is just what was pitched to Ben when it was pitched to him and everybody else. This was an original pitch. It wasn't what was set in stone. It was like, this was the idea. This was the gist of what they wanted to do, but they had to change things up. Or it didn't fly with like Sega and all them. So, anyway, though, with that said, let's get on to our next topic here. And our next topic is more post-Disney afternoon revelations to be made in Season 3 of the new DuckTales series. Yes. Now, in case you guys don't know, and I haven't watched it yet, but Goofy being promoted as one of the guest Disney Afternoon characters, or TDA, Disney Afternoon era characters, to show up in GoofTube garb and everything in the Season 2 of DuckTales, did just that um, this past weekend in the second episode, Quack Pack. And what was revealed, now some people were confused about his appearance, but apparently it is legit. Goofy is in the same universe. He's BFs with Donald. And the reason we see him, first of all, is because Donald, because basically they're on a journey, they're on an adventure to find a lamp, which is the same lamp or similar. Well, yeah, it's basically the same lamp and everything from DuckTales, the movie, Treasure of the Lost Lamp, the 1990 film. And basically, they're on this journey, and Donald, I guess, is just getting sick and tired of this to where he's like, all he wants is a normal life, a normal family life, unbeknownst that he's right next to the lamp when he wishes this. And he's always wished, and apparently, according to the episode, he's wished it almost every day. Well, he ends up getting it, and basically, it takes a while for not him, but for everybody to figure, hey, something's not right here, something's wrong. And then they get the revelation from Gene the Genie, a new redesign of the character, voiced by Jaleel White, that is, of Sonic fame and Steve Urkel fame. He finds out that Gene the Genie is. They find out from Gene the Genie that Donald wished for this, and it takes Goofy to convince Donald, hey, not everything is normal, not everything is perfect. And what he does is he shows pictures from his wallet. And it's pictures of him, and we see Max in there, we see Roxanne in there, which obviously, of course, acknowledges that Goof Troop and Goofy Movie were one and the same, like a lot of us suspected. And basically, basically it's Goofy. It takes Goofy, I should say, to convince Donald, hey, having a family the way you have it is normal. They're just different. That's all they are. So, anyway, long story short, getting to the topic of this topic, of course, not only is it revealed that basically Goof Troop and Goofy Movie are one and the same, as we suspected, but it also reveals that Roxanne and Max are together still. So that makes you wonder, what other revelations could we get from Disney Afternoon characters? Hear me out. You see, we know Tailspin's coming in via, well, Tailspin already made an appearance with Don Carnage and everything, but we know that from the protagonist side, we're getting Kit and Molly, the adult versions of Kit and Molly. So you got to wonder what revelations will be made from their appearance. And then later on, we're getting the Rescue Rangers, and we might get some more references later on for Gummy Bears and Wuzzles. So it makes you wonder, what other truths will we get? Like, to me, you have to wonder, did Molly and Kit get together, or did they end up getting together and taking over Hire for Hire? Like, maybe Rebecca passed on the business to Molly along with Kit. Did Baloo and Rebecca get together? There's a lot of stuff that we could be that could be revealed, that could really surprise us. So we'll just have to watch that episode when it comes out to see what revelations we'll get. And then you got the Wuzzles. Like, how do they come into play? How does Butterbear and Rhinoki get turned into monstrous versions of themselves? Or why is the version of the Wuzzles here monstrous over what we're used to seeing? It's really intriguing to think that. It's really intriguing to find out what kind of revelation we're gonna get from that perspective. And then what about Gummy Bears? We know they're part of the DuckTales continuity and timeline, even though they're set in the past. But how much more revelation do we get from them? Like, what's their status quo? Where do they fit into the grand scheme of things? And then you take a look at someone like Goslin. How does this version of Gotham fit in with this version of Darkwing Duck? How are they going to get together as a family? Um, Again, it just makes you wonder what kind of revelations will we get. Then you take a look at Rescue Rangers, which I'm guaranteeing you is one of the more anticipated episode crossovers fans are looking forward to. You got to wonder how they come into play, how they're going to be brought in, and mostly what has changed with them. Because we see that, with Goofy showing that, hey, Goof Troop and Goofy Movie are one and the same, and apparently Max and Roxanne in this continuity are together. It makes you wonder. Makes you wonder exactly um, what's next on the list, right? What's next on the revelation list is what I'm saying. It makes you wonder. So, you know, one of the things I'm sure a lot of fans and even those that are working on the series that were fans have always wondered is who would Gadget choose? Would Gadget, choose Chip or Dale? Because like I said, you take a look at the connection that Goofy Movie and Goof Troop Movie. I mean, the fact that, and I'm sorry if I lost track there. I do apologize. This is what happens when you're live and uncut, uncensored on the fly. um, and when you're linking up simultaneously the live stream in a lot of places. Um, but like I said, with that revelation that, like I said, Goofy Movie and Goof Troop are one and the same, and that Max and Roxanne apparently in this continuity are still together, it makes you wonder exactly where does what revelations will we get from Rescue Rangers? Because one of the things fans, and like I was saying, pretty sure fans that are working on the series as we speak have always been wondering is who would Gadget choose? Would Gadget choose any of them? Would she choose Chip over Dale? Would she choose Dale over Chip? Would Foxglove and Dale officially finally be revealed as an item? Who knows? Um, that I guarantee you, though, like I said, that is one episode, one crossover episode that fans cannot wait to see happen and become a reality, because to them, hopefully, Goofy's appearance in Quack Pack, in the Quack Pack episode, and the revelations used there to help convince Donald, hey, nothing's ever perfect when you come to when you have a family, nothing's ever normal. Hopefully that opens the door, if you will. Hopefully that opens the door to to other Disney Afternoon revelations being made in this third season. Like, again, how did Molly and Kit, grow? Well, not only grow up because that's natural, but how did Molly and Kit? What's their status? Like, did they get control of Higher for Hire? Did they get together? Did Baloo and Rebecca get together? Stuff like that. And then you take a look at Rescue Rangers, and you say to yourself, okay, did Gadget choose Chip over Dale or vice versa? Gadget chose Dale over Chip. Is Dale and Fox live together? What's going on? Did she ever find out more about her father, Arthur, and stuff? It's really these kind of things. And then you take a look, like I said, the Wuzzles, and whether or not the monstrous in this version of the Disney Afternoon universe, or they got experimented on, and this is what became of them. It's really intriguing. It's really interesting. It's really interesting and intriguing to find out exactly what other revelations we're going to get. But as I say in a lot of my videos, we have to wait and see. But if you have people that grew up on the Disney Afternoon, on these Disney Afternoon shows, bringing these characters in and basically making the DuckTales series the center of the Disney Afternoon, I guess you could say, televised cinematic universe, then you open the door. Then you're opening the door for a lot of questions to be asked straight up. So, like I always say, we have to wait and see what they do. And But yeah, I'll be really intrigued. I guarantee I'll be really intrigued, and I guarantee you what I'm trying to say is I'll be really intrigued, and I guarantee you that whatever revelations get made in either the Rescue Rangers or Tailspin crossover episodes, people are going to be talking about those for weeks. I guarantee it. I guarantee you from Watso Videos is going to talk about it. I guarantee you the guy that does his talk on DuckTales is going to talk about it. So a lot's going to happen. And I guarantee you those will be the two episodes as well that get the most viewership down the line. I really do. So yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting exactly to see where they go with it in the future. Like what other revelations we're going to get. Okay, so with that said, and I know I sound like I went all over the place with it, I do apologize. But so with that said, again, cannot wait to see what other post of the revelations we're going to get, because we are going to get more. To me, Goofy set it up when he did the talk with Donald, in showing him not only is Goofy Movie and Goof Troop connected as one, basically one and the same, and in the same universe, but revealing that Max and Roxanne got together. I guarantee you we're going to get more revelations with more of the Disney Afternoon characters as they appear and cross over in this series or in this season. All right, so the number three topic we have here is how long should the Zombot have gone in the IDW Sonic comic? Now, in case you guys don't know, right now IDW is currently on hiatus with a lot of the titles. A lot of the titles due for release this month, an early portion of next month will be released. From what I understand, mostly this month and partially next month, unless something changes. I know that DC Comics and some other people are doing their best to kind of give some financial aid to the retailers so that places like Diamond Comics and all of them can, redistribute. And there's other news going on around about that as well. But anyway, like I said, IDW Comics right now is kind of on hiatus. Not saying they're out of business, although a lot of people look at the gloom and doom of IDW and say this could be it. I don't think they will be. But right now, the Zombot arc is one of those story arcs, part of one of the comics they have that's on hiatus, along with the potential crossover we were going to get with My Little Pony and Transformers. But anyway, the question I have is how long should the question and topic I want to discuss is how long should the Zombot arc have gone in the IDW Sonic comic? And I'm going to be truthful with you guys. I understand that Ian Flynn has speedy recovery, Godspeed, and speedy recovery to Ian Flynn, because apparently he's dealing with the same situation a lot of people are dealing with right now. But getting back on point here, the one thing that Ian Flynn has always been known for is his pugnancy or his punctuality or whatever you want to call it, his determination, let's put it that way, to do massive story arcs when he feels the need arises. He always feels like, hey, this is the perfect story arc to really go along with, just really go all out with. And that's not a bad thing, honestly, as long as you could focus on it, or as long as you can try to, make it work to where it's not dragging on for too long. And honestly, Ian Flynn, when it comes to the Zombot arc, is doing just that. Now, the Zombot arc started at the end of one of the second major arcs under the IDW license. As a matter of fact, thanks to a friend of mine, Frank Hill, I have one of the last trade paperbacks collection of stories, to where in the final two stories in that trade paperback, that's when the Zombot arc starts to come to life. It starts growing its foundation and building from there. So basically, when I look at the fact that I have a trade paperback that has the beginning stages of it, the beginning issues of it, and it's still going on till now. To me, honestly, this is an arc that I think should have just wrapped up within 4 to 6 issues. That's just my thing. That's just my thing because I understand you want to build up the look. I understand from a story perspective they want to build up the thread of how infectious this metallic disease or whatever it is, coating, whatever it is, can be when people are infected by it. But as I said yesterday, or as I said the other day when I did my 9,000 my 9K subscribers Q&A, 9,000 subscribers plus Q&A, I talked about this in a question, and I said honestly that towards the end, that I think what's going on right now, I think it's best just to wrap this up in a way to where it's just revealed to be a mega dream, a huge dream or nightmare Sonic's having that makes him realize, okay, I do need to work with the Resistance. I need to work as part of a team, whether I like it or not. So that's the way I think they should end it, because right now this is the kind of story that with what's going on, you don't really want to have going around. So maybe this time off may allow them to rewrite the ending and be like, oh yeah, it was all a dream, just a nightmare. And with Sonic coming out going like, yeah, I had this nightmare, this dream, this happened, that happened. And you know what? It's taught me a lesson. I'm going to join the Resistance because of it, or something like that. I don't know. So, but to me, honestly, though, with that aside, I think this should have just gone 4 to 6 issues. I look at what Archie Comics did earlier on. I'm not saying that with the what is it, the Sonic Unleashed, the Brave New World / Sonic Unleashed / Panic in the Sky arc wasn't long. It was really long. There's no doubt about that. But that's basic. But that was Archie Comics. That was basically during the later run, Ian's later run on Archie Comics. He had already set in stone that he was willing to do long arcs. I mean, you take a look at Iron Dominion, that went for a full year. So, so him doing what he did with the Return of the Freedom Fighters, Brave New World, new NU 52, Panic in the Sky, Shadow World Crisis arc. When he did that, we were pretty much already established to the fact that he was going to do long arcs no matter what. So him doing that wasn't a big deal to us. But if you're starting out with a comic, but if you're restarting a comic under a new publisher, and some of the new readers that come on board because of it are not used to long arcs, especially from something like a franchise like Sonic, then it's best to kind of, in my opinion, it's best to kind of basically, what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of best to ease those readers into what you're capable of. And honestly, a Zombot arc, not a problem. The premise, I'll be honest, sounds good and everything, but it's more of a premise that should be done along the lines of more of a 4 to 6 issue story. That's it. Just 4 to 6 issues, and because within those 4 to 6 issues, you have a beginning, you have a middle, and you have an end. I mean, if you take away the fact that Shadow World Crisis, Brave New World, New 52, as they call it for Archie Comics, for the Sonic Comics, that is, Shadow World Crisis, Panic in the Sky, if you take away that those are all one major continuity, and you just separate them individually, you'll see that they still have the same impact as if they were presented the way they were anyway. I mean, Panic in the Sky, 4 issues it was presented in, had the same kind of impact, if not more, as the story as a whole. I'll give you another example. Sonic Universe, when they did Spark of Life, the Nicole, which was Nicole-centric in Sonic Universe, even though it was 4 issues, it had major impact. People loved it. People were talking about it. So I think honestly when I look at the Zombot arc, I look at an arc that was easily 4 to 6 issues, was easily a 4 to 6 issue story at best. That's the way I look at it. Excuse me. That's the way I look at it. That it was a 4 to 6 issue story at best, not a whole year-long plus arc, whatever. I think it was more of a 4 to 6 issue deal. You started in the issues you were beginning it with, and you ended 4 to 6 months later. And within that 4 to 6 months, you and your staff, your writing team, can get a lot done. You can have the same kind of impact. You can, if you want to, you could have vanilla, I should say. You can have Cream's mom vanilla and most of the chaotics and your new character Tangle. You could have them affected. You can have them infected by the Zombot arc, but have them cured and reverted back within 4 to 6 issues. You don't need to drag it on. So, in my opinion, that's how long I think the Zombot arc could have gone. And it's not because I don't like it or anybody else doesn't like it. It's because it makes a more natural sense. By making it 4 to 6 issues, you give yourself breathing room to utilize the other issues for other story arcs to help build the world that you're trying to build under the IDW umbrella. So, in my opinion, I think it should have gone 4 to 6 issues, in my opinion. So, but that's just me. That's just me. Okay, so next topic that we're going to get at is how silly could Pony Life, the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic spinoff, get? Well, we know that potions are involved. It looks like we've gotten a bit of an example of what Pony Life is going to be with these stop motion shorts and even these CGI shorts of Hello Pinky and all that. So how silly could it get? Well, we know that some of these potions, when it comes to some of the characters, have certain traits. Like with Rarity, apparently it's to make her mane longer, make her mane and tail longer. But everybody else, it's kind of up in the air. But I think, honestly, with the way the synopsis is about basically saying that things could get really silly, really humorous on certain occasions, how silly Pony Life could get, I could say it's got the potential to be really silly, but in a good way. I really do. In fact, one thing I've always thought about is what character is My Little Pony Friendship is Magic at times had the ability to utilize what is known as the lustful melt gag, where a character, male or female, in their mind or visually in front of the audience, melts into a puddle of goo and then reforms back either at their own will or by the will of somebody else. To me, I think Pony Life opens the door for something like that to happen. Who it would happen to is totally up in the air, but I think they have the potential to make that happen. And that's just one example of how silly and humorous in a good way it could get. There are other ways, like Rarity with her potion allowing her hair to extend maybe. I could see her trying to maybe use the potion and build upon that little best gift ever themed short that we got of her wanting to have a flowing mane. We can build upon that here. So it could be really intriguing. I understand that some of the people that were fans of the show are working on this, and who knows what you can get out of it. I mean, take a look at Spike. There's a lot of Sparity fans. Obviously, the people working on the series know about that, and they're like, okay, well, how would Spike fit into this? Well, what if Spike gets a potion that turns him into a pony temporarily? There you go. He goes out with Rarity as a pony. Nothing to be ashamed of or anything. even though Rarity would probably teach him, probably the lesson would be that it doesn't matter to Rarity what he looks like, as long as they're together. Who knows? Um, Again, there's a lot of uh, potential of how silly and humorous they could get with this series. Um, but I think they can get really silly and humorous, but in a very good way. More so than they could in the series, in the original Friendship is Magic series. I think they have the potential to get really, creative with the silliness and the humor, with the gags and all that. With the potential that these potions have. Like, if one of them obviously has an invisibility formula or potion, imagine the fun you could have with whatever character: Rainbow Dash, Applejack, Fluttershy, maybe Pinky, Rarity, Twilight, Starlight. Imagine, Twixie. I mean, imagine the fun they could have, or the mischief they can get in with by utilizing an invisibility formula. Be really, really interesting. That to me would show off how creative you could get with this, in my opinion. So again, to me, I think, how silly could Pony Life get? I think creatively it could get really silly, and I think it could get really silly in a very creative way. Like I said, what I'm trying to say, like I said, it's early. I do apologize. Just trying to think about what I'm going to say. But basically, like I said, it could get really silly in a very creative way. Really silly and humorous in a creative way that would be good. That would actually get people talking and enjoying what they're seeing. Because there are people that are questioning Pony Life, but I think if you show how silly and humorous it could get creatively, but in a good way, I think people will enjoy it. And I think things like the lustful milk gag, the invisibility, and many other potential creative silliness and humorous ways of working with these potions, Rarity wanting the flowing mane and all that. I think, I think they could work, and they could be done. They can be done and weaved in a very I know I'm using the word a lot here, but a very creative way that, you know, will make this series seem very appealing, not just to young kids, but to the adult bronies and Pegasisters currently right now. So I think they can get really silly. I think they can get extremely silly, but I think they can get extremely silly in a very creative way that's going to be nothing but good. It's going to be nothing but good for them down the line, to where it would really, keep the attention of the adult fans on the series and wanting to see more. That's manner that people actually enjoy and want to see more of. And I think if they do that, they can get, like I said, potentially extremely and potentially silly as much as they want. So anyway, and I do apologize if I rambled a little bit there. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on that. Next up, number 5, the new Animaniacs series coming this fall, and what could come of it. In case you guys don't know, Animaniacs has been revived for a new reboot, soft retcon, whatever you want to call it, on Hulu in conjunction with Warner Brothers, which also means it'll probably end up on HBO Max down the line and Boomerang, both those streaming services. So question is, what is going to come of it? Well, we know that the main selling point is the Warner Brothers and the Warner sisters, Yakko, Wacko, and Dot. And we know that along with them is Pinky and the Brain. That's also being a selling point. But what else could come of it? Who else could come of it? And I think you can't, honestly, you cannot do Animaniacs without doing Slappy Squirrel. You can't do it without her and Skippy. You can't do it without the Good Feathers and the Good Feathers and the girlfriends, the girl feathers or something. I think that's what they're called. You can't do it without them. You can't do it without Rita and Runch. You got to bring them back. You can't do it without Buttons and Mindy, but maybe make Mindy a little older. Can't do it without Katie Kaboom. You need to bring that kind of stuff in. And most definitely, I think a lot of fans would agree with this. You can't do it without Minerva Mink. You got to bring her in. You got to bring Minerva in and let her be part of this in a major way. And you know what's funny is I talked about this before when talking about the Animaniacs reboot or soft reboot, retcon, whatever you want to call it. To me, when I look at the fact that it's going to be on Hulu and potentially HBO Max and Boomerang down the line, I look at the fact that the door is open for them to be as crazy and unpredictable as ever. I mean, a lot of people say that they borderlined a lot of stuff. They were on the borderline with a lot of innuendos and stuff that they did in the original series. Imagine being able to do that and more now that they would have literally less restrictions than they did then. So the door to me, it's going to be open. It's like that old saying. It's like you're opening Pandora's box, or you're opening the Covenant, the Ark of the Covenant, and you're just letting loose. And you're letting loose all the craziness that comes with it, all the unpredictability that comes with it. And I think obviously that's what the new Animaniacs series, in my opinion, is capable of doing now that it's going to have less restrictions being on Hulu and eventually HBO Max and Boomerang. It's going to have less restrictions. They're going to be able to do whatever they want to do, almost, and get as crazy and as nuts as they want. I mean, I'm sure they know people are going to want more Minerva Mink because from what I understand, she was supposed to have more than just 2 shorts in the series. She was supposed to have more. And all she was reduced to was cameos and guest appearances, co-starring roles and stuff. But she was never given any more individual episodes, which I'm sure fans would have loved. And those working on the series obviously were fans of the original, know that. So I have no doubt, in my opinion, that Minerva Mink, if she is part of this, and there's no doubt she has to be because she is part of the Animaniacs roster, she's going to get more episodes. She's going to get some more individual short 11-minute, 7-minute, 11-minute animated shorts. I have no doubt she will. And the same with, and the same with Rita and Run, even though they had a good fair chunk. I've got a feeling they're going to get more. Same with Slappy Squirrel. All the characters that probably got more appearances, more time than even Minerva, I think obviously are going to, they're going to get more time. They're going to get even more time than, they're probably going to get as much time as they did before. But I think characters like Minerva, maybe even like Kitty Kaboom, and a few others that got less time, I think they're going to get more time with the new series because, like I said, being on Hulu and everything, being on Hulu and everything, and potentially HBO Max and Boomerang, I think, opens that door, opens that Pandora box, opens up that lid of the Covenant and lets out that unpredictability. And one of my followers just let me know that Looney Tunes is also having a reboot. Yeah, I know that they're having. It's kind of a live action thing as well. So that's interesting. That's going to be on HBO Max. But anyway, getting back on point here. We're getting back on point. Like I said, the potential is there. And with someone like Minerva, one of the things that I talk about, obviously, in fact, I was one that started this up at some of the wikis, fandom wikis, if you will. One of the traits that Minerva was always known for was her zany outtakes when it came to her zany wild takes, outtakes, if you will, Tex Avery style, whatever you want to call them, when it came to the side of an attractive male or an attractive item. She would just go completely bonkers. And one of her traits in both of her solo cartoons of the original was melting into a puddle. In initially what was her first episode, Meet Minerva, although that aired secondly, she melted literally in the guy's arm. It's like she ran towards the guy, jumped in his arms, laid back, sighed and laid back, and she literally melted in his hands, basically split in half to where she melted, like I said, through his hands by splitting in half and becoming a puddle beneath, you know, uh, uh, under his feet, if you will, or maybe, at his feet, I should say, and flowed a little bit over his foot, but um, to the point that she was able to reform herself. Now that's what I'm trying to say. She literally, in Meet Minerva, runs into essentially her best friend's cousin's arms, melts literally through his hands in half, splits in half when doing it, melts into a puddle at the bottom, which flows a little bit over his foot, and then reforms into a boat horn, obnoxious boat horn. But then the second time she does this, she literally melts right in front of Wilford as he's in his werewolf Fabio alter ego, and he has to pick her up. And literally after she melts, he has to pick her up like a wet rag and dry her off like that, or dry her out, wring her out, dry her out, just to restore her. Because the one thing I always joke about when it comes to that one scene, and that's in Moon Over Minerva, which was the second episode production-wise, but the first one aired. I always joke about the fact that if he would have walked away and left her like that, he would have came back and she'd still be a melted puddle. She still would have remained melted on the ground. Maybe 2 hours later, and then he'd have to just do what he did initially anyway. So anyway, Minerva, like I said, she has the potential to get more of the spotlight put on her, more individual episodes given to her, short animation wise. And I have no doubt that if they stay true to who her character was from the original, if she does another melting gag or lustful melt egg in some of those shorts, I wouldn't put it past them to have her melt and then maybe seep into the ground and just regrow, come out of the ground like a tree, and just regrow out of the ground like a tree with a face on it. Or you see this door on the tree just open, come out of nowhere and just open up, and she just falls out of it and everything because she grew from it or something like that. Or she seeps into the ground and she comes up like a flower and all that. So, or you see this flower come up and then the petals open up and there she is. They have the potential to do that kind of stuff. And it's not just with Minerva either. You could potentially do it with Rita. You could do it with Slappy Squirrel, which I'm surprised they never did. You could do it with any of the characters. Of course, you can do it with the Warner Brothers and the Warner sister. But, that's something that we'll have to wait and see. As I always say in my videos, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But to me, with the new series coming this fall on Hulu and then potentially HBO Max and Boomerang, I think honestly what could come of it is everything that I just mentioned and more. I really do. I mean, basically to me, the silliness that we got, the humor that we got in the original series, that borderline at times, you're going to amp that up by 100. Amp it up by 100, maybe 50 to 100. But it's going to be amped up times. It's going to be amped up to 50, in my opinion. So, yeah, to me, I think honestly, I think with the series going to Hulu and, like I said, potentially HBO Max and then Boomerang, and the fact that there's less restrictions, like I said, it amps up the possibility of what happened in the original. It amps up that to 50 to times 50 in this new one, as well as it's basically like opening Pandora's box and opening the lid to the Covenant and letting out the unpredictability, because you never know. Because by doing so, you don't know what potentially you're going to get. So That's what I see coming from the new Animaniacs series this fall when it arrives on Hulu and then eventually HBO Max and Boomerang. All right, so last but not least, let's talk about number 6, which is what other Disney afternoon shows could get a continued soft reboot. In other words, a continuation of the original series, or maybe even a new take, if you will. Um, um, in the future, what other Disney afternoon shows could get that continued soft reboot or new take because of their appearance/reference in the new DuckTales series this season and even previously? So in other words, what new show? So in other words, what Disney afternoon show could be spun off into their own series? Well, we know obviously with Gosling making her appearance in season 3, Darkwing Duck's potentially on the books right now as getting his own spin-off series to air on Disney Plus, Disney XD, Disney Channel. So that's pretty much already set in stone, or semi-set in stone. But who else could get it? Well, I think obviously one of the biggest potential ones to me has to be Tailspin, because I think whatever, like I mentioned earlier, whatever revelation we could get about Kit and Molly being grown up and everything, and what's occurred at Higher for Hire, and what's going on with Baloo and Rebecca, whether or not Kit and Molly are together, Baloo and Rebecca together, whether or not Kit and Molly took over Higher for Hire. I've got a feeling that whatever potential revelations we could get from that it's only that if Tailspin is a series that could potentially be softly rebooted, continued, if you or get a continued soft reboot into their own spin-off series, because of their appearance here, I think whatever revelations we could get could set that up. Like I said, I think any revelations we get could potentially, like I said, whatever revelations we could get could potentially set up the building blocks towards a Tailspin series. Like whatever you set up here in their crossover appearance, you could build upon in the new series. And I like that. I like that idea. Like I said, we could find out whether or not Kit and Molly are together, Baloo and Rebecca are together. Did Kit and Molly take over Hire for Hire from them? Whatever is revealed, I guarantee that they could build upon in a continued soft reboot spinoff of Tailspin. The same with Rescue Rangers, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. A lot of people, like I said earlier, want to know what's going on with them. Did Gadget choose Chip over Dale, or Dale over Chip? Did Foxglove and Dale become an item? What's going on? Did they find out more about Gadget's dad and what happened with him? To me, just like with Tailspin, whatever revelations or acknowledgments or references we could get in their crossover appearance, I think could really set the tone for them getting their own spin-off series with a continued soft reboot as well. So Tailspin and Rescue Rangers, I think, obviously, besides Darkwing Duck, like I said, is sort of semi-set in stone to happen. I think Rescue Rangers and Tailspin are potential candidates to be the next ones in line to get their own spin-offs later on. We know that Chip 'n Dale are getting their own individual series. It's not related to Rescue Rangers on Disney Plus, but what I'm talking about out here, though, is them getting a new Rescue Rangers series that kind of builds off their appearance in the new season of DuckTales and whatever revelations or references we get from that. Another one to me is Gummi Bears. I mean, I know that they were acknowledged, I think, in season 2. There's no doubt they have to be acknowledged here in season 3 down the line in an episode. So I think Gummi Bears potentially could really benefit from a continued soft reboot retcon. Like, in other words, continue where they left off in the original and go from there, but take place years later, and you have an older Cubby, you have an older Sonny, you have an older Buddy Barbic, you have somewhat of an older gusto, if you will, and just build upon whatever lores or myths that gets thrown our way in season 3 of DuckTales that's Gummy Bear related, along with what was already thrown our way in season 2. You use those references and acknowledgments and whatever, and I guarantee you use that to build a new continued soft retcon rebooted Gummy Bear series that, like I said, takes place years after the original, and you could have magic on your hand. You can have some literal magic on your hand, because those are the kind of series that, if you're staying within the same continuity as the original, but it's sort of softly rebooted and retconned to where you take in a lot of the myths and the legends and the references given in season 2 of the new DuckTales and potentially in season 3 of the new DuckTales. The world, as they say, is your oyster, because there's so many potential ideas you can go with and work around with when it comes to that. The other one, I think, of course, has got to be Wuzzles. You have to go with the Wuzzles. I know originally the Wuzzles were based on a toy that Disney licensed to do a series on, but I think honestly the Wuzzles need to get their own series. They need to get their own series, because whether or not we find out, because it all depends. I will say this about the Wuzzles though, because they are kind of the wild card. It all depends on how they initially debut in the series. Are they already monstrous beings, or are they mutated? Did they get experimented on and they became this, and now like Scrooge and all of them has to find a way to restore them? See that to me makes the Wuzzles the wild card. But if the latter is the reasoning for them being monstrous in season 3 of DuckTales, then I could see a Wuzzle series, a rebooted or retconned Wuzzle series coming from this. I really could. But again, like I said, that all depends on whether or not the latter, to where, in this case, Rhinoki and Butterbear are captured and mutated or experimented on, or mutated, I should say, into these monstrous beings. If that's the reasoning, we see these monstrous versions of them, or we saw these monstrous versions of them in those images shown at San Diego Comic-Con last year, whether or not, that's the reason, or they're just legitimately monsters right off the bat. So it'll be extremely interesting to see how that's addressed. But like I said, if the latter is the reason, then definitely they got to go with the Wuzzles reboot. They got to do it in a sense that makes it connected to the DuckTales timeline and continuity, the new one anyway, just like they're doing with Goof Troop, just like they're going to do with DuckTales. I mean, not DuckTales, but okay. What I'm saying is, if the latter, to where it's revealed that Butterbear and Rhinoki have been captured and they're being experimented on or mutated into these monstrous beings, is the reason that we saw these monstrous forms of them at San Diego Comic-Con, then to me, if that's the reason, and not the fact that there's just straight up monsters already, but if the latter is the reason, then yeah, a Wuzzles reboot soft retcon has to be addressed. It has to be made, because one, you can already tell that they're setting up a lot of the Disney afternoon shows, from Gummy Bears, Goof Troop, eventually Tailspin and Rescue Rangers, and of course Wuzzles as well, to take place within that same continuity and timeline as the new DuckTales. So a Wuzzles show, a Wuzzles reboot within that same timeline would work, in my opinion. And you could look at it as either being something that takes place afterwards or as a prequel. Same with Gummy Bears. Gummy Bears would obviously serve as a prequel to the new DuckTales series. But still, it would be something that I think has potential to really work. But to me, honestly, like I said, the ones I see getting a new series, a new continued reboot, soft retcon show, because of their appearance and reference in the new DuckTales series from last season and upcoming in this season, if not already in this season. I could see, Tailspin. I could see Rescue Rangers and the Wild. I could see Gummy Bears as sort of a prequel-like series, but set in the same continuity and timeline. And I could see a Wuzzles, but Wuzzles is a bit of that wild card. Now I know you're thinking, well, what about Goof Troop? Well, I think Goof Troop, yeah, potentially could get the same treatment, but I think Goof Troop is kind of like Darkwing Duck. It's kind of like already semi-set in stone that they're probably going to do that one as well. But we won't know until later on whether or not San Diego Comic-Con takes place this year or it doesn't. We won't know later on until whether or not, we're going to get a spin-off Darkwing Duck series or a spin-off Goof Troop series. But to me, Darkwing Duck and Goof Troop, inside my finger at the mic, that my thumb hit the mic there. But potentially to me, those two series, those two retcon, rebooted, continued series, or whatever you want to call them, are already semi-set in stone to possibly occur as spin-offs down the line during or after the new DuckTales series is done. So, but yeah, like I said, to me, the ones that potentially have the option or potentially have the chance of getting a continued soft reboot series because of their appearance and reference in the new DuckTales series, they are Gummy Bears as a prequel in the same continuity timeline, whatever you want to call it. Tailspin with an adult Kit and Molly and whatever gets revealed and everything in their appearance. Rescue Rangers, same thing there. Whatever gets revealed or referenced in their appearance. And then, of course, the wild card being Wuzzles, depending on whether or not it's revealed that they're straight up monsters, which would basically shoot that idea of a Wuzzles reboot down, or if the latter, like I said earlier, is revealed to where they're actually who they are from the series, but they've been captured and mutated into these monsters. So, to me, that's just something that, but to me, until we find out the answers to what's going on with them, the Wuzzles soft reboot retcon within the same timeline continuity, if you will, as the new DuckTales series, probably serving as a series that takes place after their appearance or as a prequel. That's kind of the wild card, unlike Rescue Rangers and Tailspin, which have a stronger chance of getting their own spin-offs afterwards alongside the already semi-set in stone own Goof Troop and Darkwing Duck series. Wuzzles being that wild card, again, it's up to their initial appearance and whether or not we find out the straight up monsters or the who we know them as, but they've been captured and mutated into these monsters. So it's going to be extremely interesting to see what happens. But like I said, they're the wild card, unlike, as I mentioned, Tailspin, Rescue Rangers, and Gummy Bears, which pretty much have a stronger chance of getting a spin-off series or getting their own spin-off series alongside, like I said, the semi-set-in-stone spin-off series of Darkwing Duck and Goof Troop. So that's just my thoughts on the series that I potentially believe, the other Disney Afternoon series that I believe potentially could get soft reboots because of their appearance and reference in the new DuckTales series. But anyway, though, guys, that's pretty much going to do it for me on this special edition of Topics on My Mind, where I talked about comic books and animation. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This live Topics on My Mind for today, April 9th, 2020, a special comic books and animation edition. Again, hope you guys liked it. Let me know what you all think down below. Comment if you like about it. Thank you for joining me in the live chat for those that did. And let me know for some of you that are watching afterwards what your thoughts are on some of my thoughts on the topics I discussed. What do you think how do you see certain things happening when it comes to those topics? Let me know down below. Comment if you like. Love hearing from you guys. Thank you again for those that tuned in to the live chat or commented on the live chat, and let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section as well. So until then, guys, God bless. Take care. Stay safe. Stay home. If you can, and help flatten the curve. And I am out. God bless. Take care.